Welcome to It Starts With Courage podcast with Kat and Jen. What is it? It's everything. Everything you want in life starts with courage.
Let's go.
JB.
What's going on, Kat?
I'm just here. That's been my answer the whole of January so far. I'm just here.
Are you on vacation hangover?
I think so. I just haven't been able to find any motivation to, I don't know. I just feel so unmotivated.
Kat, we have a motivational podcast.
I mean, woohoo! Come on! I don't know where the Southern accent came out from, but come on!
Oh, God. You crack me up. Okay, today I wanted to talk about greed versus generosity.
Oh,
I know.
You like went in.
I know. It's heavy. It's heavy today. Heavy, but it's been on my mind. And sometimes I get like this when I'm working a lot. And right now, the real estate market is insane. Like, we thought 2021 was insane, record years. But like when 2021 and it started really picking up like in March, April. And when that happened, there was inventory, right?
Yeah.
We had 2 or 3 months of inventory. And so, yeah, there was a lot of buyers, but there was a lot of houses for sale. So now we've kind of gone through a lot of that inventory. And so now we're about to go into the spring market, and we've got the federal government saying that they're going to raise interest rates. So all these buyers are like, oh my God, I got to find something. I got to buy something before the interest rates go up. And there's no houses on the market. There's literally zero, like almost zero.
Did I tell you? Okay, so going back to, there was lots of inventory back around sort of May. That's when you said, oh, this would be a good time for me to sell my house back then in May. Did I tell you I drove through the neighborhood? Don't ask me why, guys. I'm not a creep. I'm not a stalker. I just wanted to see how is everything doing. Did I tell you that a house down the street, 2 doors down, is on sale? And that house had been sold in 2018 for like, I want to say at least 15,000 more than mine, right? Literally just after I'd moved in. It's back on sale now. 2 doors down, mind you. Do you know that it's selling for $25,000 more than my house?
And you set a record in your neighborhood.
Yes. And they are exactly the same square footage. There's nothing extra special about this house, but it's now $25,000 more less than 6 months later.
Yeah. So, right now, like, this is like treacherous waters for buyers. Like, I have this very sweet couple. I've sold them multiple houses. They want to sell their house and buy a new house. And like, it's almost impossible to do that right now. It's almost impossible to have a house for sale, to sell and get your offer accepted. Because when people are putting a house on the market in Louisiana, I put an offer in for them and the agent had 12 offers, which is a lot here. It's a lot. Now in California, you may have 100 offers, but in Louisiana, South Louisiana, 12 offers is a ton. And so buyers are having to get super creative of what they're doing.
The stories I've heard. The stories
it's like selling your firstborn child with your, like throwing in a dog or.
Exactly. Like people are saying, I'll throw in 10,000 over ask guaranteed.
Yes.
I won't do an inspection.
So like, I, as an agent, I'm kind of on this fence. Like, so all my clients are like my people, right? Like they're trusting me to help them make a good financial decision. They're, I want to make sure that they buy a house that in a few years they can call me back, turn around and make a profit on. But like these prices are insane. And so it's kind of like, these people need to move, and how do you, advise them and make sure that they're making a good decision?
Yeah.
I listed a house, last week, and we had 30 showings and 13 offers in the first day.
And I thought, God, man, wow.
Yeah.
I wish I had a house to sell. I mean,
And so right now it's like, it's so hard, and I'm getting a little frustrated because the sellers know that it's such a seller's market that they are asking buyers to do like insane things, like
Yeah.
pay over appraisal, waive inspections, not ask for any repairs, just
Because
like
it saves the seller money.
it does. But there's a point where it's like good business, and it's a point where it's like greedy business.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I feel like 2021 was like good business, but now I feel like 2022 is like greedy business. And so that's just been on my heart lately.
Yeah.
I just wanted to talk about.
And here
that-
I was thinking like things are getting back to normal in terms of houses. I legit thought like,
Oh, no. No.
wow.
So, this has been what I've been going through, and it got me kind of thinking about situations and people and greed and generosity. And at the end of the day, what I'm looking for is, sure, seller to get a good deal on or get the most money for their house, buyer to get a decent deal and not be upside down in that house and make it a win-win for everybody involved. But that's proving really hard to do right now. And so
Yeah.
it kind of got me thinking about ways that people tend to kind of be greedy. And I think we always think about money, right? But I think we can show greed in a lot of different ways. And so first we'll kind of talk about the greed part, and then I want to talk about the generosity. So, I think you can be greedy with your knowledge.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, so I've read about 100 books,
Okay.
self-development, business. I've heard, I've been exposed to a lot of topics. And so like you as a friend with a business, if you're asking me questions, what if I have all of this knowledge and can point you in the right direction of like where to go because I've read a book of somebody that did it this way and they should have done it another way, but I just choose not to tell you.
Yeah, I mean, like, I definitely see that, but I think I definitely see what you're saying with that. When I look at, let's say, for example, for me, my example is always social media, but when I look at social media, I'll often get lots of questions from other creators who want to know, how do you do this? How do you do that? What service do you use for this? What service do you do that? Now, because this is not something I suppose, it's not something, let's say to a certain extent, it can become a career, but it's things that I've learned over time. And the only way I've learned over time is by asking other people who have helped, right? Mm-hmm. So in that sense, it would be greedy of me not to share that knowledge because that's the only way that I got better myself. Now, if this was something that was, I suppose when I look at other trainers where it's been a lifelong career for them and something that they've really studied, they've obviously also put in a lot of money for. If somebody else comes and say, hey, what do you do for your this, for that, for your clients to do? I in a way, I understand them being greedy with that because that's something they've worked for. So people should pay for that, right?
I'm not talking about paying. There's definitely some mentoring and coaching that I think people should pay for. But I just think in general, like I teach agents and I teach classes and I'm, for the most part, there's a few things that I kind of keep to myself, but for the most part, 99% of what I do is kind of open book. And I just kind of feel like 98% of the people aren't going to do anything with that, like you're going to go and you're going to teach and they're going to think it's awesome. And then they're not going to do anything. They're not going to act on it. So,
right. And
if they do, there's plenty of business out there for everybody. So I totally understand where you're coming from on the what's it called, intellectual property or things that you should pay for in terms of coaching or things like that. But I'm just talking about in general. In advice to friends, family members, other people that you're kind of like doing life with that are trying to grow businesses because those are the people that you should be hanging out with and having conversations with. And
I've seen quote unquote friends do that to each other where it's, one friend is saying, I'm, this with my hair business and I'm trying to do this. And this other friend may actually know somebody who could potentially help them to elevate. So rather than being, hey, I know so-and-so who can help you with this, or I know so-and-so who can, the friend will just listen.
Yeah. Well, and that's another way, right? To share to be generous in your connections with people. That's something that I would describe myself as a connector. I'm always listening to people, and I'm thinking, and I often have like some clients that I'm like, oh my God, these people would be so good of friends with
Yep.
these other people that I know, but they'll never meet each other. You
Yep.
know, like you see that.
100% a connector. I agree with that one, because even when I look at the way that this podcast came together, or just other things that have come together, it's all just been, oh, hey, I know so and so, and I know so and so, and I know so and so. So yeah, you are generous with your
Connections, maybe to a fault. Ideas, I think people sometimes are greedy with their ideas, and that's like in real estate. I hear a lot of agents that work for different companies, and they're like, they're a new agent, and they're trying to talk to the big mega agent at the company, and and that agent's not wanting to share any of their ideas, like of what to do. And it's like, come on, man, just put it out there. You have to believe that there is enough in whatever that you're holding on tight to.
Yeah.
You have to believe there is enough for everyone to go around.
I think I agree with that, but I think that's if, as you said, if you're in a setting where it's a group of people and everyone's sharing ideas, and there's this one person who may have good ideas too, and they just
hold back.
Hold back. Then yes, but I guess it would be, I see where some people would be worried, because there are some people who, I guess I've had more experience with the people who come and listen to your ideas, not give ideas, and then next minute you see that same person doing exactly that, but they never came and shared their own idea.
Note to self, next time you have a mastermind or you have like a teaching thing, like always tell somebody, like, look, you're not only going to come here to learn, but you're going to bring the heat. So you have to bring one or two ideas that are really good, that you're willing to share with the group, and kind of try to get the people in the mix. Because there definitely is the people that hold on to their stuff really, really tight. But the opposite of greed is generosity. And I think of generosity as like the ultimate success magnet. And I can tell you, like, there's been certain times in my life where I've had like a really good month in real estate. And I can remember one time in particular, like we had a great month, me and my husband. And I was like, you know what? I went home and I was like, we need to help somebody this month. Like, we need to get out there and help somebody. And
I need money.
Stop it. So, we started talking, and one of our friends had flooded, and they were slowly putting their house back. And my husband was like, hey, I think we should help these people. And I was like, great idea. See what they need. And so they, with every paycheck, were buying like trim and doing a little bit at a time. And so Bob went to him and was like, hey, man, like, what all do you need to do to finish your house? And so he named off a few things. And Bob's like, look, Jen and I have had a great month. We want to help somebody. We'd love to help you guys get back into your home, finish it off. So we set up some contractors. We got it all finished for them. And it made me feel wonderful. But it also was one of the best years that I've had. And that's what I want to talk about, is like generosity. When you give to other people, you're going to get that back in such a big way. And every time that I have given money or given time or given ideas to people, like, it just helps me grow as a person, and it comes back to you. Like, it's just this magnetism in the universe. And
speaking of that, I always think of my parents when I hear that. There was a time, I suppose back in the 80s, my parents had a couple of businesses, and they did really, really well for themselves. So much so, like, a few of my siblings went to private schools, etc. And my dad took in, from my understanding, I wouldn't have even been born, like some of his nieces and nephews, like our cousins basically, and put them through school, or just helped to guide them along, and just, So my siblings often speak about growing up with cousins, living with cousins. And I remember my older sister once said, sometimes it's those things that you do when you're just being generous and looking out for people, you don't know the blessings that will come from that. And how I look at it is, even though as business does, it has its ups and downs. It was up at one point and then business went down. But when I look at my siblings today, and I think about when my parents passed away, they were all really young. Like my oldest sibling was like 27. Mind you, there's 8 of us team. Was like 27. So like the top 4 were between, I don't know, 20 and 27. And I just think so many things, it could have been a completely different story. I always think of myself that I was so young, I could have been in foster care. I could have been anywhere. And I just think of, I feel in a way it was due to their generosity, the way that they treated people, that my siblings and I have been blessed to be where we are today, you know?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So just kind of ending, just kind of wanted to talk about words, right? And like how you can be greedy with your words or generous with your words. And I think we all have had some point in our life, if you think about growing up, and I'm 42, so 42 years, like
so there
has been some people at some point that just kind of just say mean things to you, right? Like I hear all these stories about, this teacher told me I'd never be anything, or this teacher told me I'd never go to college, or I couldn't get into that college, or I couldn't play for this team, or I would never play pro, or I would never do this or that. And so I think about that. I'm like, for you as an adult to remember something that was so long ago, 20 years
remember
ago,
something like that.
30 years ago, like, that's greedy words to me.
Yeah.
That is taking your joy. It's not really thinking about what you're saying or the impact that you can make on that person. But I also think that we can be generous with our words, and we can look at somebody who is struggling or who is young or who doesn't maybe have the direction that they need in their life, and look at them and look at them in the eyes and just say like, hey, you know what? You're going to be fine. I believe in you. You have the talent to succeed. You have the drive. You're going to work hard. The way you take care of this or do this or do this, like, and you speak that into somebody, that is something that they will never forget as well.
You're using your words to build.
Using your words to build instead of break down. And so if you have never done that to somebody, it is super powerful.
Yeah.
To look at somebody and get like, you almost feel like you're just like
speaking life,
speaking courage into them. And from what I, gather and talking to people these days is like, everybody is fighting their own battles. I talked to a friend this afternoon who got a new job, is kind of struggling in that job, unsure. She's a fairly new mom, unsure of, what to do. And I asked one question, and they had just a moment, a meltdown,
Yeah.
And from the outside, people think that they're holding it all together, and people are just not willing to share what's really going on. But speaking into them and giving them that strength that they're lacking in the moment can be one of the most powerful things that you do for somebody. So
you just took me back to when I was flying over Christmas. There was a lady who was boarding the same plane that I was. And as you do, you mill around the gate, and she had 2 kids. They all seemed to be maybe under 2.5. What are they called? Irish twins?
Yeah.
And they were crying. They were just crying. And you could tell she was trying to hold it together, but she was completely inside. And you had, a couple of men who were just looking at her and pretty much saying,
get your kids to shut up.
Yeah. And then there was another lady who came to her and just held her on the shoulder and just said, you know what? You're doing great. You're doing great. What can I do to help if you need? And that just changed everything. The lady wanted to cry, but she didn't. They sat down together, and 20 minutes later, the kids were happy. They were calm. So you're right. Your words are so powerful. You can really tear someone down or tip them over the edge versus building them, making them feel like they can accomplish anything, anytime. They may not have that faith in themselves or believe in themselves right at that moment, or they may just be at the verge of giving up, but you can be the difference.
100%. So that's our soapbox for today. Hope you enjoyed it.
Until next week, friends, be generous with your words. Peace.
Thanks for listening to this episode of It Starts With Courage podcast with Kat and Jen. If you like this episode of the podcast, visit our website, iswcpodcast.com, for show notes and other cool things.